Hello friends, welcome to the channel. In this video, we'll be solving a reasoning puzzle based on which we will answer these two questions. You can pause this video and give this puzzle a try. Let's walk through the solution. It says, two racks, rack A and rack B, are placed such that rack A is directly to the west of rack B. Each rack has 5 shelves numbered from 1 to 5 from bottom to top, where shelf 1 is the lowermost shelf and shelf 5 is the topmost. Each shelf can hold only one item and no two items are placed on the same shelf of the same rack. Unless stated otherwise, if one item is above or below another, both are in the same rack. The lamp is kept on shelf 4. So it is a rack arrangement based reasoning puzzle. To solve such puzzles, first we'll make a grid. Now, since it consists of two racks, to make each of our case, we will use two columns at a time. And since it says rack A is directly to the west of rack B, so we will designate the left column of each of our case as rack A and the right column as B. Now it further said that there are 5 shelves numbered from 1 to 5 from bottom to top. So we'll number the shelves accordingly. Further it said that the lamp is kept on shelf 4. Now it can be kept on the shelf 4 of rack A or rack B. So accordingly we will make two cases here. In our first case, we'll place lamp on shelf 4 of rack A, and in our second case, we'll place lamp on shelf 4 of rack B. It says one of the even number shelves is empty. We can note down this hint for the time being. Further it says there is exactly one shelf between the lamp and the books and both are kept in the same rack. This implies that book must be kept in shelf 2 of rack A in our case 1 and shelf 2 of rack B in our case 2. Further it says the clock is kept either on the topmost shelf or the bottommost shelf but not on the same shelf number as iron or clothes. So we can represent this hint here. Since clock is not on the same shelf number as iron or clothes, we have represented it with the help of square brackets facing outwards. Further it says, iron is kept in the rack immediately to the east of the shelf, that is 2 shelves below the pot. But iron and books are not in the same rack. Since iron is placed in the rack immediately east of the shelf, that is 2 shelves below the pot, this implies that iron must be kept in rack B and pot must be kept in rack A. As is iron and books are not placed in the same rack, this eliminates our case 2. In our case 1, we can place the iron and the pot in two ways. First, in which if we place pot in shelf 5 of rack A, iron will be placed in shelf 3 of rack B. And if we place pot in shelf 3 of rack A, iron will be placed in shelf 1 of rack B. So accordingly split our case 1 in further two cases as case 1A and case 1B. In our case 1A, we'll place pot in shelf 5 of rack A and accordingly iron in shelf 3 of rack B. And in our case 1B, we'll place pot in shelf 3 of rack A and accordingly iron in shelf 1 of rack B. Further it says there is exactly one shelf between clothes and camera with camera kept above clothes and both are in different racks. So there is one shelf between clothes and camera is above the clothes and both are in different racks. We can place clothes and camera in two ways in our case 1A. First, in which we can place camera in shelf 5 of rack B. Then clothes will come in shelf 3 of rack A. And if we place camera in shelf 3 of rack A, then accordingly clothes will come in shelf 1 of rack B. So we'll make another case here and name it as case 1C. In our case 1a, we'll place camera in shelf 5 of rack B and accordingly clothes will be placed in shelf 3 of rack A. In our case 1c, we'll place camera in shelf 3 of rack A and accordingly clothes will come in shelf 1 of rack B. Similarly, we can place clothes and cameras in our case 1b in two ways. One in which we can place camera in shelf 5 of rack A and accordingly clothes will come in shelf 3 of rack B. And if we place camera in shelf 3 of rack B, then clothes will come in shelf 1 of rack A. So we'll make another case here and name it as case 1D. Now in our case 1B, we can place camera in shelf 5 of rack A and accordingly clothes will come in shelf 3 of rack B. And in our case 1D, we can place camera in shelf 3 of rack B and accordingly clothes will come in shelf 3 of rack A. Further it says the trophy is kept immediately above the shoes and the shoes is placed on an even numbered shelf. Now note that it stated before that unless stated otherwise, if one item is placed above or another, both are in the same rack. This implies that trophy and shoes are kept in the same rack, with shoes kept on an even numbered shelf. Now this is not possible in our case 1a, as you note that if we place shoes in shelf 2 of rack B, then we won't be able to place trophy, as iron is occupying the position in shelf 3 of rack B in our case 1a. Similarly, we can't place shoes in shelf 4 of rack B as well. So this eliminates our case 1a. Now in our case 1b, there is only one way we can place shoes and trophy. We'll place shoes in shelf 4 of rack B and accordingly trophy will come in shelf 5 of rack B. Similarly, we can place shoes in our case 1c in shelf 4 of rack B and trophy in shelf 5 of rack B. And similarly, we can place shoes and trophy in our case 1D as well. Now, I also said that one of the even numbered shelf is empty. So this must be shelf 2 of rack B in our case 1B and shelf 2 of rack B in our case 1C as well and shelf 2 of rack B in our case 1D as well. Now there is only one place left for clock in all our cases. Since clock is not on the same shelf number as iron or clothes, so this eliminates our case 1B and case 1C as well. So the correct arrangement of this puzzle is our case 1D. So we have successfully placed all the items in both the racks. Now let's answer the questions. The first question says which of the following shelf is empty? We know that it is the shelf 2 of rack B which is empty. So C is the correct option here. Now second question says which of the following statements is correct? First, clock is placed in shelf 1 of rack A. If you observe our arrangement, it is clothes which is placed in shelf 1 of rack A. So this is an incorrect statement. Further it says clock and camera are placed in the same rack. If you observe our arrangement, clock and camera are actually placed in different racks. So this is also an incorrect statement. Further says pot is placed in shelf 5 of rack A. In our arrangement, pot is actually placed in shelf 3 of rack A. So this is also an incorrect statement. Further it says camera and trophy are not placed in the same rack. If you observe our arrangement, camera trophy are actually placed in the same rack, which is rack B. So this is also an incorrect statement. Further it says camera is placed in shelf 3 of rack B. Now this is a correct statement as camera is actually placed in shelf 3 of rack B. So the correct option to this question is option E. So we have successfully answered both the questions. I hope you guys like this video. Thank you.